Phones. They are really important. But do you ever feel like you're using your phone too much? Do you ever feel like you don't have as much control as you would like over your phone usage? Today I'm going to talk about that and what you can do if that's the boat you're in. We use phones in all areas of our lives, such as with socializing. We use them to make plans, talk to friends, video call, voice call, etc. We use them for planning. They hold our alarms, our reminders, our calendars, our lists. We use them for work, for phone interviews, to apply for jobs, or even just to actually do our jobs. Most jobs require you to have a phone nowadays. And we use phones just to look anything up that we want to know. You can find pretty much any piece of information that exists using your phone, as long as you have the internet. We take them everywhere with us, too. Some people even shower with them and sleep with them in bed. Even when you aren't using it, you usually keep your phone nearby, just in case, because you never know when you're going to want to make a call, or a text, or Google something, or write a note. Phones' ever-present and all-purpose nature in our lives makes them at once a strength and a vulnerability. The frequency with which we use our phones and their importance in our lives combines with the nature of digital technology to make phones a weak spot, a back door through which to get in our heads and hijack our dopamine system. When I say the nature of digital technology, what I mean is it's constantly advancing. There is extensive data tracking abilities, the ability to transmit this data, terms of service agreements that are far too long to read, and the profit motive of the corporations that create digital technology, as well as the platforms that we use on our phones. Profit motive incentivizes companies that provide digital content to prioritize the time that we spend in app or on site, because most apps that we use are free. They are making their money off of us, meaning they want us in the app as long as possible so that they can sell our attention, our time, our collective influence, and access our money. So how do they do this? How do they maximize the time that we spend on our phones and in their apps? Well, psychology and neuroscience, basically. Apps employ user experience and user interface design that takes advantage of the reward system in our brains to keep us using them for longer and to want to use them when we're bored. So how do apps use our reward systems against us to keep us using them for longer, you might be asking? Well, our brain's reward system responds to novel stimuli and unpredictability. So while you might think that for a behavior to be habit-forming or addictive, it would need to be consistently rewarding, the opposite is actually true. Studies have found that the more unpredictable a positive stimulus is, the larger the response that it gets from the reward system. This is because consistent positive stimuli are predictable, and the reward system, because it's expecting it, doesn't respond as strongly. When something is unexpected, this provides a big hit of dopamine. So, app designers are instructed by their creators to optimize for the randomness of positive stimuli, to maximize the reward response in our brains when we're using the apps, therefore making the app more addictive or habit-forming. For example, when you open Facebook and refresh the news feed or look at your notifications, that's like pulling the lever of a slot machine, and your brain is asking, what am I going to get? What new piece of information am I going to get that will give me dopamine? And you are purposefully given content with varying levels of interest so that sometimes you get that hit of dopamine and sometimes you're disappointed. And this randomness, this unpredictability, keeps you from getting too bored or too used to the app. Notifications work the same way, in that sometimes they are actually withheld and given all at once so as to provide a bigger hit of dopamine than if you were given the notifications as they came in chronologically. So to our brains, because using social media and other phone applications have a high chance of reward in the form of interesting stimuli or social validation, and a very low cost in the moment because it's very easy to grab the phone and open an app, our brains are very likely to want to do that because it's easy and it provides high value, at least in our brains' perspectives. In real life, playing on social media doesn't necessarily add that much value to our lives. So that's where the problem comes in, because sure, picking up your phone once or twice to check an app for 2 minutes is no problem. But little moments like that add up. If every time you're a little bit bored, you're pulling out your phone, that's going to start becoming a large chunk of your day, and you might find yourself getting sucked into the phone more and more often at times when you otherwise, previously, might not have grabbed your phone. So this can result in struggling to get things done, losing track of time, feeling like the day is just slipping away because in the little moments between activities that you might previously have spent in silence, you're now spending them on your phone and possibly stretching those moments out for longer. So you might literally have less time in your day because of your phone usage. This can result in feelings of shame, making you, just feel bad about your phone usage, which ironically could make you use your phone more because you're going to be wanting more dopamine to deal with the shame. And that can create a pretty vicious cycle. The thing to remember here, though, is that phones and the apps on them are designed to be distracting, disruptive, and habit-forming, and it requires intentionality to reform your relationship to your phone. How do you know if you need to work on the relationship with your phone? Well, if you have to ask, that might be one indicator. Also, if your screen time report alarms you, that's another. If you feel like you don't have time to do basic things that you enjoy, but you know that you're spending a lot of time on the phone, there's another sign. If leaving your phone in another room makes you nervous, that's a sign. If you ever notice that you're using your phone and you can't pull yourself away, that's a really big sign. And if you find yourself staying up later than you would have liked to because you were scrolling on your phone, that's another sign. Please keep in mind that if you are experiencing these things and you're realizing that your relationship with your phone is not healthy for you, that doesn't mean you're a bad person or that you're unhealthy. It just means that your brain's reward system responded exactly as expected to having essentially a slot machine in your pocket. There are steps that you can take to adjust your phone usage if you don't like its current state, and you don't have to beat yourself up about it. Before I talk about what I think does work to help reforming the relationship to the phone, I'm going to talk about what doesn't work, at least in my experience. The first thing that doesn't work is feeling bad about it, beating yourself up over it. It just makes you want to use the phone more. Second thing that doesn't really work, at least not alone, is just deleting or logging out of apps because they're easy to reinstall, easy to log back into, and most apps have browser versions, so it's really easy to just pull up the browser and use that instead. The reason that this doesn't work is it doesn't address the root cause of the problem, which is the hijacked reward system. Another thing that doesn't really work on its own is setting screen time limits or app time limits because it's really easy to bypass them. The last thing that doesn't really work on its own, in my opinion, is tracking your screen time. Honestly, if this is all you're doing, it's just perpetuating shame, making you feel bad about it, and possibly increasing the amount that you'll want to use your phone. Now, things like deleting, logging out of apps, setting screen time limits or app time limits, and tracking your screen time are not bad ideas, but if they're the only things you're doing, it's probably not going to be helping you. I don't think you're going to get the desired results. To get your desired results, you're going to want to do a few other things. So the first step to reforming the relationship you have with your phone is identifying the triggers that make you pull your phone out and how you're feeling when you reach for your phone. So I personally, when I started on this kind of journey, I literally kept a log for a week or so, and I wrote down every single time I got the urge to grab my phone, what was happening at that time, and how I was feeling. Interestingly, when I started just writing down when I got the urge to grab my phone, I found that I didn't want to grab my phone anymore after I wrote it down. So that in and of itself helped. But it also helped me to notice patterns, like I reached for my phone most when I was bored, or when I was transitioning from one thing to another, or when I didn't want to really do the thing that I was trying to work on. And noticing those patterns helped when I started on the next task, which is set up your life so that you have other things to turn to than the phone when you are, getting a trigger to grab your phone. So I stopped keeping my phone within arm's reach and out of my eyesight. This increased my brain's perceived cost to check my phone, since it would require getting up and possibly going to another room. Also, not having it as a visual cue helped me a lot. But you still need a source of dopamine for when you're having those trigger moments where you would normally reach for the phone. So this could be getting up to play with your pet for 5 minutes, reapplying your lipstick, walking out your door for a minute or two, going to get a glass of water, grabbing a snack, etc. This can help to give you better alternatives than your phone for when you are feeling bored and you just need some stimulus. Something else that I think helps is if you're like me and you need music or background noise of some kind, instead of using your phone to provide this, is there another device that you could use that doesn't suck you in the way your phone does? Could you get a radio? Do you have a tablet that you could uninstall all social media from? Maybe you could just turn the TV on. Or maybe the computer you're working on could be used to stream music. The key here is to make sure that you are setting up your life in a way where when you encounter things that you know trigger you to want to get on your phone, you have other options readily available that are easier to get to than your cell phone. Something else to make sure you're doing if you're trying to reform your relationship to your phone is do make sure you set aside short intervals to play on your phone. You don't want to treat it like it's this bad or forbidden thing because that increases the draw to it. So maybe you have a habit of checking your phone after lunch, or maybe you check it after you accomplish the first few things on your to-do list for the day. Maybe you check it after dinner. Make sure you have some time that you are using your phone so that the time when you're not using your phone, you aren't constantly feeling like you're missing something. You know you're going to use it later. The next thing to make sure you're doing is be nice to yourself. It's okay if you can't change everything overnight. It's okay if you still get sucked into your phone when you're working on this. It was designed to do that. The key is going to be finding other ways of accomplishing what you used to use your phone for, because this device has become to a point where it's just all-encompassing, and because we use it for everything, it's just really easy to be in the phone and be using it for something legitimate and then get sucked into a social media app because it's just so easy to switch apps. As you employ these techniques, think about what you want to be doing with your time that you have been spending on your phone. And as you notice that you have a little bit more free time, take steps to do those things. And as you fill your free time with activities other than the phone, you're going to find that you just have less time to get sucked into your phone with, and you feel more in control. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed my newish format. I'm trying out the video essay style of things instead of being in front of the camera. I hope this works for some of you guys, gals and non-binary pals. And have a wonderful day. I make videos every Wednesday. Yeah, bye.